Hello students, how are you all? Welcome to One Page Biology. In today's video, we are going to discuss a very interesting topic which is important for all the students who are preparing for CSIR NET examination and especially for life sciences. At the same time, this particular topic is important for all the students who are going to appear for set exams or for other PhD entrance related exams. So let us start with the topic. The name of the topic is Fluid Mosaic Model. So let me write down the name of the topic. Now you all must be wondering what exactly is this Fluid Mosaic Model. Now let me tell you that this particular model was mainly discovered by two different scientists. They were Jonathan Singer and Garth Nicholson. So Jonathan Singer and Garth Nicholson had discovered this particular model and they had received Nobel Prize for discovering this particular model back in the year 1972. So this particular model, which is known as fluid mosaic model, what exactly is this? So let me tell you, this particular model explains us the structure of cell membrane. In fact, it helps us in understanding how exactly the cell membrane functions. So let us understand in brief what exactly is cell membrane made up of. So as I said that this particular model is going to help us in understanding the structure of cell membrane. Now we all know that cell membrane is majorly a covering of the cell, whether it is the plant cells or animal cells or bacterial cells or any kind of cell. So cell membrane is very important part of the cell. It is going to protect the cytoplasm, or for that matter all the inside molecules which are present inside the cell. So what is the chief role of cell membrane? When we talk about cell membrane, the major role of cell membrane is to allow the passage of molecules into and outside the cell membrane. So whenever we talk about a cell, we know that there are so many molecules which are required for the cell. It can be molecules like water, certain mineral ions like potassium, calcium, magnesium. It can be certain biomolecules like amino acids, or for that matter, even the hormones which are trying to enter the cell. It can be certain waste materials which need to exit from the cell, or probably the cell wants to get rid of it. So there are certain proteins which the cells have degraded and they have to be thrown out of the cell. At the same time, there are so many molecules which are in excess. So the cells are going to get rid of those molecules. So this entire process of the passage of entry and exit of molecules occurs via the cell membrane. So we need to know that cell membrane is very important when it comes to the transport of molecules. Now coming back to the topic of fluid mosaic model. Here what do we understand by this particular term fluid mosaic model? So understand this. So when we talk about the cell membrane, say for example this particular is the cell, right? And I'm just drawing it on a rough basis. So this is the cell membrane of the cell. So chiefly when we talk about the cell membrane, what is it made up of? This cell membrane is mainly made up of two major components, two main components, and these are nothing but one is majorly the lipids and the second one is basically the proteins. Also at the same time there is small amount of molecule which is a very important molecule which is known as cholesterol. Now chiefly we can say that cell membrane mainly is made up of lipids plus proteins and some amount of cholesterol. So whenever we talk about lipids, These are majorly the phospholipids which are present in the cell membrane. So what do we understand by phospholipid? Phospholipid is majorly made up of two main groups. So if we need to know the phospholipids, it consists of a circular head group which is majorly made up of phosphate, and it consists of two tails which are nothing but made up of fatty acids. So in short, this is basically a type of a phospholipid in which we can say the head is circular and that there are two tails which are made up of fatty acids and the head is made up of phosphate group. That means this portion, that is the head portion of the lipid, is basically polar in nature, and this portion of the lipid which is made up of fatty acid is non-polar in nature. So, majorly, whenever we talk about the cell membrane essentially is made up of many phospholipids. So, these phospholipids are arranged one after the other. So, basically, the phospholipids are present on both the sides of the membrane. So, for example, if this is the membrane, let us consider this is the outside part of the cell. So, this we can consider as the extracellular region, and this is the inner portion of the cell. So, let's see, this is the cytosol. So, in other words, we can see that the lipid molecules or the phospholipid molecules are present on both the sides of the membrane, forming the two layers. Now, since they are forming two layers, this is considered as a lipid bilayer. So, basically, Jonathan and Singer had devised a fluid mosaic model in which they had said that the membrane consists of two layers of lipids, and these two layers of lipids consist of many phospholipids which are present one after the other in a highly mosaic form, and that's why the name is mosaic model. At the same time, they are forming two layers, and that's why it is called as lipid bilayer. Now you must be wondering, where are proteins present, because in the earlier part we had also said that in the cell membrane there are lipids as well as proteins. So remember that the proteins are present in between the lipids, in between the lipids. So we can say that some of the proteins which are present, these are majorly present throughout the membranes. So these proteins which are present throughout the membranes, these are called as internal proteins, or they can also be considered as integral proteins, internal or integral proteins. At the same time, there are certain proteins which are present only on the surface. They are present on the surface of the membranes and they can be easily extracted from the membrane. These proteins are called as external proteins. So basically there are two types of proteins, integral proteins as well as the external proteins, or the external proteins are also called as extrinsic proteins. So just the different names, but you need to know the meaning behind it. So these proteins basically are present in between the lipid molecules. At the same time, in between these lipid molecules, there are sometimes other biomolecules or other type of derived lipids, something like a cholesterol. So cholesterol molecules can also be present in the membrane. So let me again repeat, basically the membrane of all the cells, whether it is plant cells and or animal cells or any other type of cell, The membrane consists of majorly three types of biomolecules. One is the lipids, second is proteins, and the third is cholesterol.